Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're breaking down a really powerful method for measuring something that, often feels completely unmeasurable. The well-being of your organization. And, this is the key part, how it directly ties into performance.
Okay, so let's just dive right in by talking about a problem that pretty much every leader knows all too well. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? What's the secret sauce that actually drives performance? We tend to think it's all about strategy or vision, but as you're about to see, that's really only a tiny piece of the puzzle. It is a constant, and I mean constant balancing act. And visually, this is what it feels like most of the time. You've got leadership balanced on this one single wobbly point, trying to hold up the massive weight of performance while dealing with everything the world throws at you, economic shifts, new tech, you name it. It's pretty much impossible to keep that up for long.
But this slide, this is the answer. Performance isn't something you balance. It's something you build on a solid foundation. And what are those foundational pillars? Culture and well-being. When those two things are strong, they create this incredibly stable base that can pretty much handle any disruption.
So, okay, if well-being is that critical, then the next obvious question is, how on earth do you measure it? It feels so abstract, right?
And yeah, the definition itself seems simple, but think about it. Health, happiness, prosperity, these are notoriously tricky things to track with a spreadsheet or a simple metric, especially in a corporate setting.
But here is the absolutely elegant solution. Instead of trying to measure these huge abstract ideas directly, we can measure their number one expression, feelings. It's kind of like when you go to the doctor. They don't start by running a bunch of tests. The very first thing they ask is, how are you feeling? It's the most powerful first step.
Now, this whole idea of using feelings as hard data is a breakthrough, but it needs a solid framework to be useful. And that brings us to a new and really powerful model for understanding and actually quantifying well-being at work. So, this new model isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's actually built on the work of a giant in psychology, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and his famous flow model. He's the one who discovered that our state of happiness is directly tied to the balance between the challenges we face and the skills we have to meet them. But here's the brilliant twist that makes this so powerful for companies. The creators of this model knew that trying to measure skill across hundreds of different jobs is a total nightmare. So they made one simple but profound change. They swapped out skill for confidence.
And that just makes it so much more practical. Trying to score every single employee's skill level? Impossible. But asking someone, how confident are you in getting your work done today? That's a super simple, universal question that works for absolutely everyone in the company.
The other little tweak they made was to just update the language to better fit a modern workplace. So, for instance, that perfect state of flow now becomes energized. What was called arousal is now interested. These small changes just make the whole model feel way more relatable.
So with this new, refined model in place, how do we actually turn these feelings into a hard number? Let's take a look at how this well-being index is actually calculated. Okay, before we even look at the formula, we have to understand this really critical piece of human psychology. Our brains are basically hardwired to pay way more attention to negative stuff. It's an old survival instinct. But what it means for the workplace is that bad experiences have a much, much stronger impact than good ones.
So, to reflect that psychological reality, the model gives a heavier weight to negative states. The positive feelings get a score of +1, but the negative ones, like anxiety or worry, they get a score of -2. They count for double.
And this is where it all comes together. By combining the data on challenge and confidence with that weighted impact of positive and negative feelings, the system generates a super precise well-being score for every single person and for the organization as a whole.
And honestly, the true elegance of this whole thing is that all the data you need to power this entire model, it comes from asking your team for just one word. That's it. That one word gets mapped to a state, and the score gets calculated automatically. It's that simple. Now, a score is just a number, right? What really matters is what that number is telling you, and, more importantly, what you can actually do about it.
So that overall score places your entire organization into one of 4 clear states: strained, concerned, stable, or positive. And as you can see from the descriptions, each one gives you a really clear, data-backed snapshot of your team's collective well-being. This isn't guesswork anymore. It's an actual diagnosis. And to make all that data actionable, you ask 3 more simple questions. These,
Start, stop, and continue questions create a direct link between the feelings people are having and specific leadership behaviors. It gives leaders a crystal-clear action plan to start improving things.
Okay, this all sounds fantastic in theory, but the big question is always, does this stuff actually work in the real world?
Well, the results are nothing short of staggering, really. On average, organizations that have put this system into place saw a 117% improvement in their well-being and culture scores.
And we're not talking about over several years. This is typically within just 90 days. It's just undeniable proof that when you can actually measure what matters and then take focused, data-driven action, you can create massive, positive change, and you can do it fast. So we'll leave you with this thought. For the first time, leaders have a clear, data-driven way to see the true foundation of their performance. The only question left is, what are you going to do with it?